Got quiet when you walked in. You figure it must be close time.
We got official.
All right, I'll call us to order at this point. Allison, will you please do the roll call?
Neese. Here. Neeson.
Here.
Merle.
Here.
Topliff.
Here. Is Justin?
Oh, hi,
There he
John.
is.
There he is.
In the cyber moment.
All right, we do have a quorum. Please stand. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight and together to discuss the business of the city. We want to thank you for all the blessings that you've bestowed upon our city and our citizens. We ask for your guidance while we try to govern the city properly. We wish that you would continue blessing us, and all these things we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Right, yeah, there we go.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh.
Hi, Jessica, you want to start us off here?
Sure. We're going to start off with the consent agenda.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as applied to us in a package online. Second.
Any discussions? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Now we have recognition of guests. Christopher Foster from the Consumer Credit Counseling. Are you here? Okay. We have Kathleen Morrissey from the Old Time Music Ozark Heritage Festival updates.
Evening. Thank you for letting me before you tonight.
I'll wave at you in 5 minutes.
Minute written for. We passed out a little sheet of paper with a bunch of festival names on it for you, because I just want to give you a little bit of background on how we came to the position we are today of making changes, improvements, and in a big way for the festival as we have come to know it over the last 29 years. That list is a list of 10 festivals that became a cohort, a program cohort funded by the Humanities Council, Missouri Humanities, and tourism. And they picked us for an unknown reason to be one of these, and we got extra funding to do more humanities to more people. And then a division of tourism giving us in-kind, a matching in-kind to do marketing. And that's really unheard of for tourism. They don't give festivals money to do marketing. We thought that this was the opportunity to take for us to, go back to some drawing boards and figure out how we could reimagine this festival to be better and more participatory. So after many meetings, first of all, with the current partners that have been with us forever on this festival, which include the city and the university and the Arts Council and many different entities. We met with them first and then talked about what we might do that would be better, that just, to reimagine this. And as we started to come up with ideas, the whole idea of moving this festival from where it was on the Civic Center grounds, it's headquartered on Civic Center, west, so that it could take in the downtown area and be more of a street festival on Washington Avenue. So what you see up there is the Civic Center in the corner part of that mid right side is pretty much the existing footprint. And then it comes west on Trish Knight. When it gets to Washington Avenue, we go up and down Washington Avenue. We close it from Broadway to Dixon. And then it continues to go west past the Yellow House, the library, continues west through the university's property, and it will terminate at the what we're calling the diversity commons. They're kind of where Hostar is, and we'll have a stage there, one stage there, and looking back down on Trish Knight. So this includes a lot more partners for us, including the Downtown Revitalization Committee. They've been very excited about being a partner, participating on this. The university came on with the Garnett Library's Ozark Heritage Research Center. So they're going to be doing things around archiving. They'll have an exhibit at the Broadfoot in that building so that people can come in. We'll be doing one program, something called One Object, One Story right there. The Yellow House across the street becomes our headquarters, just the programming venue for storytelling. And as of today, Carol Sylvie and Kay Garrett will they'll be programming that stage for the storytelling, and Meredith Cisco and her apprentice will be pretty much performing on that stage for most of the day. So that's what it started out to be, including more people, doing more things that would make this thing more inclusive. When we talk about this as far as the Civic Center is still the headquarters. It's the heart of where we were with the music. We were having two big headliners Friday night and Saturday night. And part of that thing Friday night was our ability with the tourism came in with another grant for us to help us pay for a really name headliner. And we've never dealt with Southern Gospel before. So this year we'll be working with the Isaacs on Friday night. They'll do a headlining concert for us. And Saturday night will be a combination of basically three things. First is a wonderful group of African-American women from Oklahoma City. They are also gospel singers in the Church of Christ tradition. They're called Wings. Women in Need of God Sing. They have a contact here because one of them is related to Crockett Oaks family and actually has ties here. She grew up here as well. So we're really thrilled about that. We'll have, in addition to that group,
That's 5 minutes.
We'll do is it 5 already? Yeah, we'll do group sing, and then we'll end that the Saturday night with the Blackwood Brothers. Any questions?
Looks like I get to drive the golf cart even more places now.
Absolutely. Yes. We're going to need more transportation around this.
Yeah.
And then also there's, instead of an outside stage, there's that whole grassy area in the back will be a living history encampment. So we're going to cover 4 eras out there.
Wow. Okay.
Anything else that you guys might have questions from? I just never come that very good. So these are Meredith Cisco's latest recording, and it's called I'm sorry. It's called Stories and Songs from the Missouri Ozark. The 2 CDs that you get, the one CD that's got the stories on it with the music, and then one CD with just the story. I mean, with just the music.
Oh, I thought you were going to make us buy the second one. Thank you. Yeah.
That is.
So
Thanks. Thank you.
So much. If I drop something over here, I know what it was.
Okay. Thank you, Kathleen.
So did we get an approval on that idea? We can go with city council saying yes, on this.
What are you asking from us?
What?
What are you asking from council?
The layout.
Just that you have been informed of all of these new changes and that, you kind of think it's a good idea too. We haven't had any negatives on this so far, so.
Hey, if you have the business owners on approval, yeah, sounds good to me.
And we're doing this without closing the square down, so
I was noticing that. It's like, that'll be interesting.
drive that business west. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have resolutions. Resolution 2023-03, a resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with West Plains Downtown Revitalization Incorporated for economic development.
I motion to approve resolution 2023-03.
Second.
Okay, Sam, do you have any input on that?
Not much, just our annual agreement with downtown.
Okay.
West Plains Revitalization Group. This is a 9-month agreement to sort of coincide with our new fiscal year. So the current agreement that we're under expires in March. So this will pick up in April and carry us through December.
At the end of, okay,
Happy to answer any questions.
all right, no questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Resolution 2023-04, a resolution approving the Public Officials Code of Conduct for the city of West Plains.
Make a motion that we approve resolution 2023-04.
Second.
This project has been in the works for a while. I think it even preceded my time here. Don't know what the cause of the conversation was to get it going, but I do know several cities throughout Missouri have this type of information available for council members who either have been on council for a number of time, newly elected council members, board and commission members. So the information in front of you really just sort of lays out the roles and responsibilities, informs newly elected officials a little bit about the city, the different roles that participants play in that process. And then we did include a code of conduct or ethics policy at the end that is pretty common that other cities offer as well. So offer this up to you tonight. I know we've had conversations. I've sent drafts out to you, so happy to answer any other questions for you, but pleased and happy to present this to you for approval this evening.
I'm sure I was used as an example on a few of the code of conduct things.
I will.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we ought to look at it a little closer.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Resolution 2023-05, a resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with Beta Technologies for aircraft electric charging stations at the airport.
I motion to approve resolution 2023-05.
Second.
hello, Brian.
Mayor, council. With me tonight, I've got Sam Hobbs with Beta Technologies, and he's got a short PowerPoint. So just kind of go over a few things and
Okay.
kind of give you some information.
All right,
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me here. So I don't know how much you know about Beta Technologies, but we've been through town a couple times on our way from our base in Burlington, Vermont. Actually, was out of Plattsburgh, New York, all the way to Bentonville, Arkansas. So we've stopped through here a couple times. Excuse me. But we're next. Or do I hit something?
I think Tommy should be doing that.
We're a systems company. We kind of look at ourselves as like a three-legged stool. The aircraft, that's what everybody gets really excited about. So Lea is our aircraft, distributed electric propulsion, can fly mostly like an aircraft, typical conventional aircraft on the pusher, on the wings, but can also take off vertically. So we use the great resource that we have in airports around the US. And your airport's one of them that we want to look at. The second kind of leg of the stool is training. So we look at, training not only the pilots to fly the aircraft, but the mechanics and various supporting industries that support electric aviation as a whole, not just our aircraft. And then, of course, charging. That's what our team goes out to airports and towns and cities all over to build charging infrastructure on airports. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Multimodal. So when we do an installation like this, we put charging not only on the air side, but also on the land side. We will need an electrification as a whole. So this project is not outside of that. We will put public parking charging, a level 2, and then the DC fast charging for our aircraft, as well as it's meant to be universal to the electric aircraft industry. So we use a charging protocol called CCS, and that's a commercially available charging standard. So you could plug your Ford Lightning into it or our aircraft. So people. Okay, next slide. I don't know if this video is going to work, but give it a try. Oh, no, it won't. Never mind. Sorry about that. This just gives you a little culture of beta. And if it doesn't work, I'll share it with the commission.
We have this beautiful Z dimension of the space above us. We're independent of the roads, the bridges, the tolls, the people. There are no limitations. You just go. From 2000 to 2004, I pitched everybody that would listen about Beta Air. And then only about 3.5 years ago, I met Martine Rothblatt. She stopped me in a why are you here?
United Therapeutics is a company that I started to save the life of my youngest daughter. We develop medicines for rare and neglected diseases, and we're now working to create an unlimited supply of transplanted organs. It's important to me to deliver our organs with a zero carbon footprint. Kyle and I talked about this for 12 straight hours.
As I left, she said, why don't you write down how you feel about eliciting critical thinking and aviation? So I went home and I painted a watercolor. I wrote all over it, and I sent it to her at like 4 a.m. And at 9 o'clock the next morning, I'm out working on a motorcycle in the garage. And my wife comes out and she goes, you might want to check your text. And she gives me my cell phone and it just says, you're on. If you think you understand what the problems with electric aviation are going to be, you're probably wrong. No paper projects ever go anywhere. Build the real thing and fly it.
Beta did countless tests, countless simulations, and Aaliyah had its first flight within a year after I met Kyle.
The product vision is it picks up off the ground like a helicopter, and the rear rotor turns on and it accelerates forward almost on a runway in the sky. 30, 40 seconds later, top rotors are off and you're flying like an airplane. When we think about the call to action for our generation in electric aviation, it's not, does it help us to get to tomorrow's flight test or help us to get to that other customer, that other revenue? It's to turn the corner on climate change. If you put your blinders on and just look at the finish line of what you thought the world was going to look like, you're probably going to fail at that. You don't have a grand plan, you have an idea and a philosophy, and that's what we've been pursuing. When you define that to a bunch of smart people and then you slip out of the way, then you get good stuff. Electric aviation is sustainable. The costs are lower. The operational flexibility is higher. It is the inevitable future. And I think if we are focused in the way that we're focused on simplicity and pragmatism here at Beta, we'll make it happen sooner than a lot of people might believe.
It's pretty hard to follow Kyle. I didn't bring gifts, so that's tough. That's okay. So when we look at Aaliyah, the video kind of summed a lot of it up, but she's pretty elegant, little biomimicry. So the Arctic Tern is some of the motivation for general shape. Cessna 172, and John, I hear you're a pilot. Has a glide ratio of about 9 to 1. In any down scenario, this has a glide ratio of 13. So very safe state of that. But it can actually do some work. It's a fully loaded, it's just under 7. So it's, our customers are pretty excited about its versatility. There's a cargo variant. That's kind of the primary focus right now of the company, working with some partners like UPS, the Air Force, the Army, United Therapeutics as noted, and then of course some passenger variant types like Blade, Air New Zealand, et cetera. So cargo, 6-passenger aircraft, 0 emissions. Yeah, next slide. Some of the milestones, so I'll go from the top or the bottom rather. You know, we believe that our pragmatic approach is streamlining our certification path, targeting roughly 2024, early 2025 for certification. That's kind of where the industry's headed to. So we're on track there. We've been doing this for a little bit, so 3 years plus of full scale flights between our current airframe as well as Ava. Our previous airframe was very much a test bed. And we've done flight with the US Air Force, the Army. That's pretty unprecedented. So they've actually flown our aircraft. And then successfully, I talked about it, you know, going out to Bentonville, Arkansas from our headquarters and back, exercising our network, exercising the aircraft, and seeing a lot of airports on the way. We're working with Health and Human Services on some work down in the Gulf Coast, and then most recent kind of milestone is we hit 336 nautical miles in a CTOL flight, so a 5-pack configuration. So we're getting a lot of attention because we're actually out there building our own network. You know, we sort of like to compare ourselves to Tesla, but separate ourselves because, you know, we're not building it just for us, right? We're building it for the industry at large. So like I mentioned, that CCS protocol commercially available. We're working with our competitors on that protocol to ensure that the industry kind of adopts that. And it goes as far as the FAA mentioning it in their engineering briefs, et cetera. So it's pretty widely adopted at this point. And, yeah, so our current path for our charging network is basically, you know, that current shot all the way down to Bentonville, Arkansas. Obviously, you guys are that dot right next to Bentonville. And then by the end of 2023, we plan to be down the East Coast and then back up through the Gulf Coast. So kind of making a loop. You guys will close that loop. In terms of what the infrastructure will look like, this is our current tech. It's a pedestal DC fast charger. Back to the right is the rectifiers. They basically take the alternating current from the grid and turn it into DC power to fast charge, you know, the aircraft. Again, it's multimodal, could charge, you know, any CCS protocol car. So what we're looking for, and we've already done this work at the airport, but is access to 3-phase power, a nice FBO, which you guys have a beautiful facility. It's awesome. You know, and we consider the ground handling implications. You know, you're a pilot, you know how that works. Taxi flow, what the future is of the airport. You know, we want to be a part of, you know, the progress of the airport. We acknowledge that airports are a great resource, and we want to fit into the current state as well as the future state. So both from a physical aircraft side, but also from a infrastructure supporting electric utility side as well. So we want to have that available. And then, you know, the workflow, we've already kind of, we're in this process, but we're kind of in that third to last bullet point, kind of looking at getting the approvals, working through the FAA approvals and working with the utilities. So. Yeah, the timeline, you know, the site earthwork is a three week tops, probably, you know, depending on whether we do a split timeline or not, but and then the commissioning is very quick. We get our techs out there for testing the app and the system, and it's pretty good. This can all take about 52 weeks. It's hidden underneath the video like Zoom likes to do. But 52-week is kind of what we're seeing, about a year from those initial conversations to the charger in the ground. Can take longer though, depending on what we're up against right now is really switchgear lead times and FAA approvals, but mostly switchgear lead times. So in tandem with our development of the aircraft, we're also developing ground service equipment that really focuses on aircraft and the airport environment. So we are working on a vehicle charging cord reel, the center piece of that stack. And then on the flanking that is battery conditioning on the left and cabin conditioning on the right. So we're building a full suite of products that will then service the electric aviation group as a whole. And that's our setup at Burlington Airport. Have an open door policy. So if you ever find yourself in Burlington, Vermont, come let us know and we'll get you through the facility. That's it.
You mentioned availability of a charging station for automobiles as well.
Yeah, when we put the infrastructure in, we'll build a level 2 in the parking lot typically if the airport wants it. And I believe that's part of the design here.
Gene, are we gonna be able to supply the power that's needed out there for that?
That's actually how already.
Okay. And I'm assuming that this is a pay while you charge. Okay. I know I have friends that have Teslas, and if you're trying to go from Springfield to Nashville, they route you through St. Louis. This way, so
It's actually kind of cool. A result of us putting them in the lots is that people are finding chargers where they wouldn't have like where, the charge points of the world aren't going to target that spot, but we can put a charger in and then it enables actually. So it's pretty neat.
So would we own the charger, or is that how or you got, how would that work?
No, we have what's called this agreement's called the host site agreement, and it's basically a shared margin revenue. So we fund the entire project. And then the host site, which in this case is the municipality, would then engage in a revenue share it's a 10-year period.
we'd have to recoup what the Oregon electric bill.
We would
all that.
Okay,
it's our own metered service.
okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That is just kind of for allowing it to be on that land.
Mhm.
Property, on the airport property, and then through, they're funding the project. How it's
Okay.
payment bill, all the infrastructure, anything along with that. We would be there and airport staff would training on something like that.
Right.
Sure, it's just kind of a. Months or something that there's. Profit margin we would share, get basically a check for whatever that was at that time.
Right.
Kind of getting in on the ground floor of something that's.
Right.
And at this point, they've spent. Projects. They have a little line, that's what them doing. I got the.
Okay. Right. Great. All right. No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Next, we have ordinances. Bill 4734 to become ordinance 4734, first reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains, Missouri to amend chapter 28 offenses, article 2, offenses against public peace of the code of ordinances for the city of West Plains, Missouri by adding a new section 28-44 titled disorderly conduct.
I motion to approve Bill 4734 to become ordinance 4734, first reading.
Second.
Hello, Chief.
Good evening. The police department is asking for consideration for passing this ordinance. It's basically disorderly conduct, and it covers lots of topics that we're seeing that we presently don't have ordinances or, strong ties to be able to enforce what's going on. So this covers a lot of those areas that produces a disorderly conduct that causes harm or danger to members of the public. So we're asking for consideration for approval. Allison?
Bill 4734 to become ordinance 4734, first reading. Cotter,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson.
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes. Thank you.
Bill 4735 to become ordinance 4735, first reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing the mayor or city administrator to execute a real estate contract for the conveyance of real estate currently owned by city and known as Lincoln Park or Lincoln School to Crockett W. Oaks and Tanya Oaks, subject to certain restrictions.
Make a motion, we approve Bill 4735. Ordinance 4735, first reading.
Second.
I think we've got Crockett here who will, come on up. Talk about what his plans are.
Well, good evening, everyone. I won't be long because I've provided you with a bit of a packet that kind of sets out some of the particulars of the history of the school and what we intend to do with the school once in our possession. So I'll open it up with, if you don't have any questions, I'll kind of give you my recollection of the school and talk about a little bit of how we want to progress with the school. Is that okay? Okay. So I provided you with a white paper, and essentially what that white paper sets out is our intentions and a bit of the history. What I'd like to add to that is just that I've got the last person still residing in our county here that was a student of that school and the impact that that school had on him. It has been a historical site for a long time. And I think that we all are in mutual agreement that it should now reflect its historical position in our community as well as nationally. The school is, I wouldn't say blight, and kudos to West Plains, the city of West Plains for keeping it out of blight status, but it certainly is in need of repair. And I think that absent anyone other than the Oaks family, I believe that we have the wherewithal to get that done. I've tried to compel our city to do it, and I understand for many reasons why that could not happen. And I've also tried to compel my university to do it, and I understand for many reasons that could not happen. So we are willing to, with the community support, apologies for having to give the community my back with this presentation, but with the community's support pushing me in my back, we're going to get this done, and it's going to be a location that I think the city of West Plains, the state of Missouri, and our nation will smile upon as having been properly preserved according to other national movements within the United States to preserve historically African-American sites. Now, you know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? And I'll just skip through the chase because I know you guys are all keen to read, you know, what I've written and things that I printed out. But the pictures, they aren't self-explanatory. I'd like to start with the back picture first because it's not self-explanatory. But it is of the Lincoln School, and it was taken in 1901. My mother has the original photo. We can't identify one single person on this picture. Just to be clear, we're not claiming that those are our family. But what we are very aware of is that at one point in time, West Plains had a thriving, robust African-American community. We don't anymore. Why that is, I don't know. In some instances, it could be complicated. In some other instances, it's just a matter of economics. Got to go someplace to work and provide for your family. But I think that this history at the turn of the century deserves to be shared within our city and beyond. Because if I were to probably show any of you this picture prior to writing the captions on the bottom, you would think it was probably, you know, in some large metropolitan area that had the same thriving African-American community that we once had. I tell you what, what's amazing to me is how many of these kids could fit into a one-room classroom in the name of education and receive just that, an education. So the Lincoln School, as you know, was from the 1st through the 8th grade. So that's one teacher trying to do a yeoman's job to educate these young impressionable minds. Somehow or another, they were able to get it done despite, and I'll refer you to this article that I had a chance to read. That was in the 1915 West Plains High School yearbook. So this article, in my opinion, that others who have read it haven't heard any different, it's pretty shameful. Of course, it was written in 1915, but what it does do is reflect a sentiment and attitude that may, very well may, still prevail right here. So I think that by renovating the Lincoln School, talking about its history, sharing issues of diversity and inclusiveness for all within our community, these types of attitudes and misconceptions won't prevail. This is exactly what the Lincoln School renovated project is going to get after. Educating folks, bringing people together, using that school from a historical perspective to be the center, the backdrop of the harmonious relationships that West Plains has enjoyed with its African-American community and any other citizen within its boundaries throughout its history. And then last, I'd like to just point you to where we would aspire to be with the Lincoln School. And I held out on here because I had 2 photos that were late breaking thoughts at 4:30 scrambling to make sure that I had enough content to properly explain my point. So these pictures that I have in my hands, and if I can approach, I'll share with you. This is of the Eddie Mae Heron School, and apology that I'm not handing out to everyone. Get with me after the program. This is of the Eddie Mae Heron School in Pocahontas, Arkansas. That's where the Lincoln School project aspires to be. They have relevant cultural events there throughout the year. They bring their community together in the name of various causes to do various good deeds for the community. All the while they're providing historical lessons about what in Randolph County, Arkansas, what it used to be, and then it develops a deeper appreciation for where it is now. And I think, you know, some great philosopher said that if we don't understand our history, we're doomed to repeat it. And so it's these types of historical spaces and places throughout the nation that bolster what we're trying to do here today by relinquishing that place in West Plains so that it can be a better place with those that have the energy, drive, and capacity to get that done. So I'll be quiet and listen to your questions. And if I could entertain questions from behind me, because I can feel the heat.
On this 1952 picture.
Yes.
The young gentleman on the third from the right.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't going to front him out like that. That would be him looking at their eye with the suspenders and belt.
And did you the young lady with her arms crossed?
Yes, the young lady with the arms crossed would happen to be your first African-American city council woman, Miss Jeanette Forbes, who is now deceased. But she, yes, would have sat amongst you had she have been here back then. And, you know, there's somebody else that I'd love to point out too, just because of her recent passing as of Saturday. Right behind Jeanette is a Forbes, Sue Forbes. And some of you may recall the Forbes family that once were amongst us here in West Plains. Sue Forbes died Saturday. And so there's a lot of folks on this picture that are no longer with us, but their legacy and what they brought to the community as receiving a foundation from the Lincoln School, I think deserves to be shared. Because it's a good news story.
Crockett, what kind of improvements or stabilization does the building actually need?
So if I were just a guessing guy, because I have not been inside of that building, it's coming, right? So,
As soon as I can get a keys.
right. I would say from the top down and from the bottom up, it's going to require work. And that work's going to require money and manpower. I'm going to lean on grants. I'm going to lean on crowdfunding. I'm going to lean on the hospitality and generosity of you. So we can have that space that will withstand the traffic that we plan to bring through there.
Reason I ask is there are funding sources.
Yeah.
Out there. I've shared those with Sam. He may have shared some of those with you as well, but some of it is centered on historic preservation. Sure. They bring in people to actually help do the job on site. I'd be more than happy to help you with that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that offering. We're going to be looking high and low to get what we need in order to get it properly restored. Thank you for that.
No more questions. Thank you. Rocket.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to take and of course, my hotel room fan is kicking on. I apologize if it creates background noise. I want to applaud Crockett, Mr. Oaks, for everything you're doing here. I'm very excited about it. And if you wouldn't care, I'd love to be able to look over the packet that you've provided. If you'd leave a copy with either Mr. Moore or Mr. Hanson.
Sam's shaking his head. He'll get you a copy.
Yep.
Josh, thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, Allison.
Bill 4735 to become ordinance 4735, first reading. Cotter,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
There's no council action today, so the administrator's report.
Thank you for your time this evening. A couple of quick updates for you. We are working on a comprehensive plan. Last week, we had meetings with our design team, as well as city staff members, met with students from the high school, met with our business and development community, and then met with our stakeholders group last week. Good participation, good feedback from those who were involved in that process. The next step is to finish up the public survey, and that deadline is going to be next Friday, March 3rd. So if residents have not filled that out yet, we encourage them to visit our website, check our social media pages to get the link to be able to fill out that survey. Still looking for public input on that. And then we are scheduling a virtual public open house sometime for mid-March. So we will ask the public at that point to share some of their thoughts on some of the information that we've developed so far through some of the conversations with the various groups. So encourage residents to stay tuned to that and stay involved as we move forward through that process. Update for you on Butler Park. The project has been long going on. We've been blessed with some rain, which if we would have had this conversation last summer, we would have all appreciated it since it was so dry. But through the weather, we're waiting with the playground. The new playground equipment is open and available for use. We do have some areas of the park that are continuing to be roped off just because we do have some sidewalks that we need to finish connecting. We'll probably connect the southern portion of the sidewalks, but we're going to leave the northern portion open because we still have some trucks and some backhoes that'll need to get in there and do some of the groundwork around the playground equipment. So when the weather's nice, we encourage residents and their families to go out there and use the equipment, but just be careful because we do have some potential hazards out there as we finish up the sidewalk work. And then finally, we're just kind of keeping our eye on the weather. We anticipate some potential for some severe weather tomorrow, should hit around noon. Most severe threat is high winds, but we'll stay on top of that and otherwise encourage residents to stay weather alert. We're heading into the spring season and it's usually interesting. Happy to answer any questions from anyone.
All right, well, no further business. Take care. May God bless. We are adjourned.
Second.